Next on Currents News, President Trump is firm. He did nothing wrong talking on the phone with Ukraine's leader. The transcript of the call is out and battle lines are hardening on Capitol Hill over impeachment.
Relief tonight in one Brooklyn neighborhood after a missing Catholic schoolgirl is found safe. I'm Tim Harfman and I'll have more.
The latest from Puerto Rico as heavy rains fall and lights go out, all because of a new storm. Plus a wonderful story you'll only see right here. A girl's best friend and how the pair is making a big difference. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Emily Druby. President Trump is declaring Congress is wasting time trying to impeach him. Late today in his first news conference since the start of a formal impeachment inquiry, he criticized House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for letting the process go ahead.
Our people are being hurt and our country is being hurt when a Nancy Pelosi allows her position to be taken over by radical far-left socialists or worse. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
Trump also said that the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire, will testify before Congress tomorrow. Trump's appearance before reporters is the latest development in a day of fast-breaking news, including the release of a rough transcript of the telephone call that's sparking the impeachment battle in Washington. Trump is denying he pressured Ukraine to dig up dirt on Joe Biden.
It's the single greatest witch hunt in American history, probably in history, but in American history.
Trump responding to critics who want him impeached because of his conversation with Zelensky. Democrats charged that the president threatened the Ukrainian with a cutoff in aid if Ukraine didn't investigate former Vice President Joe Biden for corruption. Now an official impeachment inquiry is underway in the House. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham argues the transcript of the call doesn't support that move.
Underwhelming. If you're looking for a circumstance where the President of the United States was threatening the Ukraine with cutting off aid unless they investigated his political opponent, you would be very disappointed. That does not exist. So, from my point of view, to impeach any president over a phone call like this would be insane.
House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, a California Democrat, strongly disagrees with Graham.
It is shocking at another level that the White House would release these notes and felt that somehow this would help the president's case or cause. Because what those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader.
The transcript does show Trump sought a review of Joe Biden's family dealings in Ukraine, but he didn't directly link starting a Biden investigation with granting U.S. military aid to Ukraine. At one point in the call, the president said, "A lot of European countries are the same way, so I think it's something you want to look at, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine." This afternoon, Trump and Zelensky appeared together at the United Nations, with the Ukrainian backing up the president and Trump defending himself.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be involved to democratic, open, elections of USA. No, you heard that we had, I think, good phone call. It was normal. We spoke about many things, and so I think, and you read it, that nobody pushed me. Yes.
In other words, no pressure.
During that meeting, Trump also slammed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, saying she has, quote, lost her way. She gave the official go-ahead to the impeachment inquiry. The Constitution permits Congress to remove presidents from office before their term is up through impeachment. The process starts in the House of Representatives. The Judiciary Committee recommends articles of impeachment to the full House. If at least one of the articles gets a majority vote, the president is impeached. similar to an indictment. The Senate then holds a trial overseen by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. If at least 2/3 of the senators find the president guilty, he's removed from office and the vice president takes over. Only 2 presidents have been impeached, Andrew Johnson in 1868 and Bill Clinton in 1998. Both were ultimately acquitted and finished their terms. Tomorrow on Currents News, St. John's University political expert Brian Brown will be here. Now that the impeachment battle is started, there's a lot of questions to be answered. Brian will talk about what happens next right here on Currents News tomorrow. Tonight, there's joy in a Brooklyn neighborhood. A Catholic high school freshman is alive. Worries over her safety had been mounting for days after the student went missing. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports on the many people who pitched in to help find her.
This Mill Basin Brooklyn community is grateful tonight. 14-year-old Gia Marie Duffy is alive.
It's just a relief. You know, it's 2 days of not sleeping. You know, sitting out here hoping that she comes down the street. You can't explain it.
Keith Duffy says there was a frantic search party for his daughter, a freshman at Brooklyn's St. Xavier High School. The online plea for help went viral, shared on Facebook over 10,000 times.
Unbelievable. It probably wouldn't have found her without it.
It all started Monday evening.
She asked if she can go for a walk, and which is not out of the ordinary, and she just left. The thing with the Metro card was...
According to her father, police learned the 5-foot, 2-inch teen turned off her phone, boarded a nearby bus, and took it to the Kings Highway subway station. She wound up in the Bronx. Gia Marie answered a call from a family friend this morning. Police picked her up and took her to Jacobi Medical Center for evaluation. How or why she was in the Bronx is still unclear. Her mother says her daughter has a huge heart and doesn't understand what made her leave.
She has an overwhelming amount of love and support and family and friends that are always going to be here for her.
Gia Marie enjoys her Catholic education at St. Xavier ever since she finished her first week of classes.
She loved it. She loved it. She told me, Dad, I'm mad that tomorrow's Saturday because I can't go to school.
Catholic high school was always an option. It was the only option. Inevitably, we decided on St. Xavier, and it was, so far, it's the best decision.
Gia Marie's parish, St. Bernard in Bergen Beach, held a prayer service tonight in thanksgiving for her safe return.
It's every parent's nightmare to hear something like this. Thank God she's alive and well, and she's a sweetheart. You know, none of this makes sense.
Family and neighbors say there are a lot of unanswered questions, but their main question is answered. Gia Marie is alive. In Mill Basin, Brooklyn, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
A Catholic school in the Bahamas is offering hope to the islands with classes again. Hurricane Dorian killed at least 53 people in the worst natural disaster in the country's history. The devastation was widespread. Now, Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy in Freeport is holding classes again on a part-time basis. The school is also a major distribution center for relief supplies. Puerto Rico is being hit with torrential downpours from Tropical Storm Karen. There are power outages reported all over the island, and there are mudslides. The storm is slowly moving away from the U.S. territory. Forecasters are warning that Karen could intensify and threaten the East Coast. Breaking news tonight from Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is getting the okay to form a new government. The longtime leader couldn't win an outright majority in last week's election. Now he's getting 28 days to form a coalition. He has support from 55 members of parliament. He needs 61. There's a lot more news headed your way. Up next, a story you'll only see on Currents News. It's a heartwarming report about a Christian teenager and her best friend. They formed a team that's unbeatable. 2 Catholic lay leaders will be here just back from making a historic presentation to the Pope. A top Democratic presidential contender stopped at a lemonade stand. She never imagined what would happen with her money. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
God knows what we need and when we need it. And it's been a rough couple of years for our family, and I think it was perfect timing.
A Christian family finding hope in an unlikely place in an unlikely face. April Banks says her daughter's life forever changed when she got a new dog. But girl's best friend has a new role, not a pet, but something so much more. Currents News' Michelle Powers has the story of a friendship that's saving lives.
It was like magic. The first time they met, they clicked.
April Banks never thought she'd see her daughter this happy. Not until Maggie's best friend came barreling through.
She came running out and just sat on my lap and pushed me backwards.
That's the moment Roxy and Maggie became an inseparable duo.
She'll turn Maggie's face so she can lick the other side.
Roxy isn't your typical boxer, and Maggie isn't your typical teenager. Roxy's actually a rescue, and Maggie has autism and a condition that makes her pick at her skin.
Got these from picking.
Yeah.
And you have them on your arm.
Yeah.
Do they go away?
They do. The scabs go away, but some of those scars don't.
For years, it's been difficult for April to watch. Her daughter's face covered with scars.
One of the hardest things for us to watch as a parent because we just see her destroying her body. And she can't stop.
The disability and the disorder could be isolating. Maggie was spending most of her time inside, her anxiety skyrocketing with other people. When nothing else was working, April decided they would try one more thing.
Okay, so let's go back up that way.
She reached out to Janice Wolf, a canine behaviorist and the founder of Merlin's Kids, an organization that rescues dogs from shelters and trains them to be service dogs. Dogs like Roxy, a rescue from Missouri.
There has to be that chemistry where that dog says, "Oh, I know, I'm in charge of you and you're my job."
A chemistry hard to come by. Each dog Janice trains costs between $20,000 and $30,000. They learn 17 different tasks before they become service dogs, and their training goes on even after they're placed. Only 1 in 100 dogs has what it takes.
Kind of like when you meet a person and you say, "You're going to be my best friend."
Yeah.
Or sometimes love at first sight. Well, love at first sight is what we have to have.
What do you do? Vacation?
In the last 4 months, since Roxy joined the Banks family, Maggie has stopped picking.
If I try to pick, I usually sit down. She'll come and lick me, so I can't move.
Roxy's trained to detect an increase in Maggie's cortisol levels. When she's feeling anxious, Roxy knows to press up against her skin and stop her from picking.
Did you ever think a dog would be able to change your daughter's life like this?
Not as much as it has, not as quickly. God knows what we need and when we need it. And it's been a rough couple of years for our family, and I think it was perfect timing.
The Banks call it a match made in heaven. The dog who saved a girl, but also the girl who saved the boxer, a rescue from a pound in Missouri. Michelle Powers, Currents News.
The plight of the migrants is the focus of a week-long visit to the border by bishops from across the U.S. The trip began with a mass by the head of El Paso Diocese, Mark Seitz, asking Christians to treat their migrant brothers and sisters as Jesus would have been treated. The bishops are planning to visit farm workers, youth, and other migrants in preparation for this Sunday, the World Day of Migrants and Refugees. American Catholic leaders presented the historic findings of the National Fifth Encuentro to Pope Francis days ago. It represents work done around the nation to make the Hispanic and Latino ministry in the U.S. stronger than ever. Two of the lay leaders who were at the Vatican with the Holy Father join us now, Wanda Vasquez and Luis Pena. Wanda is the Director of Hispanic Ministry for the Archdiocese of New York. Luis is the Outreach Coordinator for the Office of Hispanic Ministry in the Archdiocese. Thank you both so much for being here. Now, Wanda, what were the major findings of this 5-year process?
I think one of the major findings that we had when we went to Rome was it was actually very sobering to hear our young adults and our youth seeking additional opportunities within the church. One of those opportunities are to provide more faith formation for them, as well as to be able to provide opportunities for them to serve as leaders within the church for the future. So it was very sobering. They were very optimistic, and they were very encouraged to be part of this fifth encuentro, where we heard their voices. We heard where they currently are and want to be in the future.
And Louis, how about you?
It was a beautiful encounter. One of the key things that we also took away, just the importance of family for the Hispanic community in the United States, specifically marriages and the role that parents play in the lives of their children.
And Louis, can you also tell us about the presentation to the Pope? Who else was there, and what did the pontiff say?
Yes, so it was a delegation of about 15 members. It was right after the Wednesday audience, so we were able to greet the Pope very briefly. Some of the members were all men and women who work in ministry, and when we were presenting him with the final documents of the encuentro process, which he had been following for a long time, so when he approaches us, he begins talking just about that, the importance of marriage. That was something that really struck him about the encuentro process, and he just wanted to let us know how central that vocation is. A lot of times they talk about religious life and those vocations, but he really wanted to focus on marriage.
Wanda, really quickly, what was that moment like for you?
I felt so blessed. I was shocked. I thought it was a dream. I didn't expect it to actually happen. I mean, we planned for it for so long, and then when you're actually there, you're just like, wow, I'm actually here. You know, and you see this man coming towards you, and he is so humble and so welcoming that it just floors a person that is standing there. It's just amazing.
And as certainly the Latin American Pope has been following the encuentro, was he paying attention to the multi-year process?
Absolutely. Throughout the whole 4-year process, he did have a presentation at the National Encuentro where he did follow through on what was happening within the United States, and actually he congratulated us for what we did in the United States, because we actually gathered all of the dioceses and we heard the voices of the people in the peripheries.
And really quick for me, what is next for this movement? How do you imagine these findings will enrich the church going forward?
Okay, the next portion of the actual encuentro, we've already presented the conclusions and the recommendations to the Holy Father. Now what we're doing is we're going to start planning for in-services throughout the United States. The in-services are to share the conclusions and the recommendations with our leadership in our 143 dioceses that took part of the National Encuentro.
And why is this so important to you?
Well,
to both of you.
It provides me as a young adult an opportunity to let my voice be heard. As a first-generation Hispanic living in the United States, it's very important, and it's awesome that the church welcomes me to the table and listens to the voice of the young.
Wanda Vasquez and Luis Pena, who were vital parts of the encuentro process. Thank you guys so much for both being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
A politician's trip to a children's lemonade stand is helping a pro-life cause. Democratic presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren made a pit stop in early August at the lemonade stand run by 2 young girls in Iowa. She gave them $10 for a quick drink, but the business transaction took a twist when one of the fathers learned about Warren's stance favoring abortion. That father and the girls decided to donate the money to the March for Life Education and Defense Fund, a nonprofit that supports pro-life legislation. Still to come on Currents News, the campaign for Mother Cabrini and news about it that's only in the tablet. And a helpful cop helps a teen conquer a tying dilemma. We'll be right back. Be sure to pick up the tablet this week. Inside, there's news about actions that are being taken to honor New York's great saint, Mother Cabrini, the patroness of immigrants. Editor-in-Chief Jorge Dominguez is here to tell us all about it. Jorge, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Emily.
Jorge, Bishop DiMarzio is dedicating his column this week to Mother Cabrini. The saint was snubbed after finishing first in a citywide contest for a new statue. What is the bishop doing?
Well, it's a peculiar thing in this edition. The biggest news is not in the news section, it's in the bishop's column, because he describes in his column this week everything that he's doing about Mother Cabrini. As you know, in a recent poll, Mother Cabrini was selected to be honored by the city of New York, and the city of New York decided to honor other 7 women and not Mother Cabrini. That produced an strong reaction from Catholics, from Italian Americans, and from the public in general. So Bishop DiMarzio is saying several things in his column that are interesting. The first thing he's saying, he doesn't want to get into politics, into the complexity of the politics of this city, but he wants a statue for Mother Cabrini. So he's talking to our borough president to have a statue of Mother Cabrini in Brooklyn. On top of that, he's already he's already talking with the Catholic Foundation of our diocese to get the necessary funds for the statue. And in the third place, he is leading a procession on October 6th in honor of Mother Cabrini that is going to finish with a mass celebrated by the bishop. You have to read the tablet this week to get all the details. And if you see the back cover of the tablet, it's about Mother Cabrini. Says, we got your back, Mother Cabrini. You have to read the whole paper to know why we're saying that.
It sounds like Mother Cabrini won that statue contest by a landslide. I know a lot of people were upset about the decision, including an order of religious sisters. They composed a letter expressing disappointment. What did they write?
My favorite part of this edition of the tablet by far. The Sisters of Mercy, 21 of them wrote a letter to us talking about how disappointed they are that Mother Cabrini is not getting her statue. And 21 of them, they signed the letter. We have the facsimile of the letter in our paper. And I guess when they read the paper and they read all the news that we have about Mother Cabrini, they are not going to be so much dismayed anymore, but happy.
Jorge Dominguez, editor-in-chief of the Tablet newspaper, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
The Tablet needs your support to ensure that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. You can do so by subscribing to the Tablet so that it comes right to your mailbox. You'll save up to 55% by having it delivered to your home versus paying for it at church. Go to the website thetablet.org/home55 or call 877-883-8356. And the Tablet has a brand new page called Our Diocesan Family, where you can share your pictures of recent baptisms, Holy Communions, confirmations, marriage, all of the joyous sacraments. For more details and to submit your photos, go to thetablet.org/Our Diocesan Family. Your picture may be published in an upcoming issue of the newspaper. Finally tonight, a police officer in Utah turned a traffic stop into a teachable moment. Jake Delio and his mom were rushing to meet up with friends for his high school homecoming. The car didn't fully stop at a sign and was pulled over by the cop. The officer, Mike Carrillo, quickly sensed something was up and learned why they were in a hurry. 17-year-old Jake didn't know how to tie a tie and hoped to get help at the homecoming, but they were late. Officer Carrillo stepped in, teaching the teen on the spot, making a difference for the young man who was raised by his mom.
To make an impression on someone's life, I'm always wanting to help people. So it hit home for me.
Jake was able to make it to homecoming for the pictures, the dinner, and the dance, with a neat story to share with his friends. That is Currents News. I'm Emily Druby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.